Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're conducting a high-stakes intelligence briefing. If your company manages cross-border supply chains, imports goods into China or exports out of it, we need to talk. China has updated its customs voluntary disclosure system, and honestly, the regulations have shifted in a way that directly impacts your bottom line. This explainer is your exact roadmap to navigating these changes.
Okay, let's dive into this. 200%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the maximum penalty you could be facing on underpaid tax for customs errors in China. We are not talking about a slap on the wrist here. For a global executive, a messy, unmitigated customs audit can literally rip hundreds of thousands of dollars right out of your quarterly margins. The financial exposure is massive, which is exactly why understanding this new disclosure system is absolutely crucial.
Here is our strict, no-fluff roadmap for the briefing today. 1. The compliance risk calculus. 2. The 2025 policy update. 3. Track 1. Tax violations. 4. Track 2. Procedural errors. 5. Key exclusions and limitations. And finally, 6. The executive action plan.
Section 1. The Compliance Risk Calculus, assessing financial exposure in cross-border operations.
And this brilliantly illustrates the strategic shift you've got to make. See, the old calculus, it was totally reactive. You basically sat around waiting for customs to initiate an audit, just crossing your fingers your paperwork was flawless. But the new calculus is proactive. This voluntary disclosure system is a preemptive compliance instrument. If you discover an error internally, maybe a misclassified tariff code or an undervalued shipment, this system is your absolute best route to fix it before the authorities find it. Let me be clear, this is not some negotiation tool for after you get caught, it's a preemptive shield.
Let's quantify that risk for a second. Under China's regulations, customs compliance errors are, well, they're super common, but they're also incredibly expensive. Even a minor misdeclaration triggers fines ranging from 1,000 to 30,000 RMB. That's up to about 4,200 US dollars. But the more serious errors, the unpaid duties, that is where you hit those massive penalties of 30 to 200% of the underpaid tax. You compound that across a few shipments, and a single audit easily bleeds into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Section 2, the 2025 policy update, the leniency window.
So, the General Administration of Customs, or GAC, actually introduced this originally back in 2019, but they just rolled out updated rules that took effect on October 11, 2025. I really want you to notice the expiration date here, June 30, 2017. This creates a very tight, rigid window of opportunity. GAC widened the eligibility for penalty relief, but this current framework vanishes in 2027. Could they extend it? Sure. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. The clock is already ticking on this.
So what exactly is it? The voluntary disclosure system is essentially a highly structured path for companies to self-report customs violations before the authorities uncover them. Doing this lets qualifying companies completely avoid penalties on tax-related violations or at least receive reduced penalties on procedural errors. But the magic word here is before. The second GAC opens an investigation, this leniency window slams completely shut.
Section 3. Track 1. Tax violations, managing maximum financial exposure.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the 2025 update fundamentally improves your leverage. The system divides violations into two tracks. Track 1 is all about the heavy hitters, underpaid customs duties, import VAT, and consumption tax. Check this out. If you self-report within 1 year of the violation, you get full penalty exemption. It doesn't matter what the amount is. But look at that second row. Companies now have up to 2 years to self-report and still walk away with full exemption, provided the underpaid amount is less than 30% of the taxes payable or under 1 million RMB. And by the way, this exact same structure applies to export tax rebate violations too.
I want to anchor that abstract threshold in reality for a minute. 1 million RMB is roughly 140,000 US dollars. Why does that number matter? Because for most foreign invested importers, 140 grand in underpaid tax represents roughly 15 to 40 standard containers, depending on the product value. A mid-market trading company easily hits that volume in a single quarter. So if you stay below that threshold, you've got a fantastic 2-year safety net. If you cross it, you are strictly bound to the 1-year window, and missing it exposes you directly to that 200% penalty.
Section 4. Track 2. Procedural errors, navigating Articles 15 and 18.
All right, shifting gears to Track 2, which covers procedural mistakes. Article 15 deals with declaration errors. Think bad tariff codes, inaccurate quantities, or wrong pricing that messes up customs statistics. For these, self-reporting within 1 year completely wipes out the penalties.
Article 18, however, covers the much more serious operational violations, like disposing of bonded goods without authorization or failing verifications. For Article 18, self-reporting leads to reduced penalties, sure, but definitely not full exemption.
There is a highly specific operational carve-out here for processing trade enterprises that we need to mention. Say your actual unit consumption is lower than what you declared. Maybe you had some tech improvements on your line, right? You can self-report and avoid penalties on that discrepancy. But there's a strict condition. The resulting surplus materials or finished products must absolutely not have been disposed of.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. Key exclusions and limitations, defining the red lines.
So, this safety net has very rigid boundaries. Let's be exceedingly clear about what cannot be forgiven. You cannot use the voluntary disclosure system for anything involving state secrets, items classified as core data under China's security framework, or government affairs data. Furthermore, and this is absolutely vital for compliance officers, if an issue is discovered during a routine customs audit or inspection, you are entirely excluded. You can't just claim voluntary disclosure once they've already identified the issue. Self-reporting after an investigation is started is a binary no. It's just too late.
Section 6, the Executive Action Plan, immediate mandates for foreign investors.
Whether you operate a trading entity in a free trade zone or a traditional import structure, you need to integrate this playbook immediately. Step 1, audit your customs declarations for the last 12 months right now. Look at your classifications and declared values. Step 2, prioritize the tax-related errors. Underpaid duties compound incredibly fast, so catching them within that 1 year to eliminate the penalty entirely is paramount. Step 3, clearly document your internal discovery process. GAC needs proof that this was a genuinely proactive internal find, not just a panicked reaction to an impending audit. And Step 4, engage a qualified China customs specialist. A botched, sloppy filing can actually trigger the exact audit you're trying to avoid, so you need to get it done flawlessly.
So, the crucial point is that this policy isn't happening in a vacuum. It actually reflects a broader, data-backed shift in Beijing's regulatory posture. They are moving from pure, heavy-handed enforcement to a model of tolerance and correction. Regulators are actively signaling that proactive compliance earns tangible relief. But, that tolerance is highly conditional. You have to act before customs finds you, and your filing must be completely transparent.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to take to your next executive briefing. You have a rigid window of opportunity that expires on June 30, 2027. Are you going to leverage this preemptive instrument to neutralize your financial risk right now, or will you just fall back on the old calculus and wait for customs to find you first? The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. Thanks for joining this explainer.